Hello and welcome to another episode of Reseller Information Network. Joined as always with Tim over the years, Cernox Connection, and Leroy's here in spirit and in mind. He's there with us. We do thank you guys for joining us for today's show. We do have a great topic to talk about today that we're going to be diving in throughout the show. And it's going to be talking about one of those things that we all, if we're honest with ourselves, can struggle with at times. We're going to be talking about hurdles and things that prevent you from being as effective as you should be as a reseller. So we've got three categories we're going to be talking about here today. So stick around for that. Before we get into that, though, I do want to read a couple comments we had from last week's show. If you guys have not watched it, you can go back after this is over and watch that. We are talking about unlocking the secrets of yard sales for reselling. So if you go back and check that out, Lad left a comment, said, I look up all the sales from Facebook, Craigslist, and a couple other sites, bring them all together in Google Maps or My Maps to plot my route. Color coordinate Friday, Saturday sales, single sales, community sales, church sales. Lad, if you keep talking like that, bro, you're probably going to have a job. Like you probably could just do some yard sale maps for all the reseller friends. You might have your own little side hustle working over there like that. I'm not near that organized. I know we talked about that last week. Vintage Sports says a good Vintage Sports Flip says, good luck with everything, Leroy. Looking forward to seeing you back in the future. Leroy is on a sabbatical for a little while, so we do give him our best. A couple other responses for him. Brad, Leroy is the best. Love you, dude. Kathleen, the Fernway Flipper, says, Leroy, looking forward to your return and knowing you'll be back better than ever. Peace. If we're looking at further back, we've had some people come back in with the bread and butter comments. Basically, it's an item you know you can sell fast, but for profit may be minimal. So thank you guys for your comments. And we're going to go ahead and dive into our topic. And I broke this down into three sections today. So when we're looking at one of the first things I know that we have all had problems at time with is we like to call it projects versus profits. So, man, if we're talking about projects, we're going to start off with the king of projects.
Thank God it wasn't
me. Yes. Here's the whole concept behind this. And as you grow as a reseller, you're going to be starting to learn about newer items, different categories. You know, I know a lot of people say niche down, and that we do that, but man, I'll tell you what, it is hard when you're out there and you're not finding what you like to sell, but there's other stuff to buy. That's sometimes when you want to venture out of your comfort zone and maybe, buy some things that are projects, or buying projects that that are currently in your zone. The thing about it is, here's the thing. You got to realize what is going to be worth your time and what's not going to be worth your time, okay? If there are hats that are just regular old hats that are dirty and you buy them for $0.25 a piece, well, what are you going to do? Sell those for $10, $12 a piece? Are you going to wash those, for that, a little bit? I like to, repair hats, fix hats, wash hats, clean hats, steam hats. But I have to have it has to be at a certain point. Like, if it's just like a plain Jane, like a cool, like, advertising hat, it's got to be in pretty good condition. Now, if it's something like a New York Yankees, sports specialties, hat, well, that's different, because selling it as is, maybe get $75 to $85. But if you clean it, you might get $180. So it's kind of knowing what you do and what projects spring along the way. And if what you have to do is you have to realize, because and sometimes it takes you working on a project to go, you know what, this is too much. I've invested too much time in these few pieces that I don't think the return is gonna be that much better. So you have to understand. So that's why, like, you know, sometimes I don't pick up certain shoes and hats and clothing anymore because of that. Because I'm like, yo, this is gonna be another project that I'm not gonna ever get to, and it's just gonna take space. So that's kind of like, you know, that I always look, is this a project? Or I'll go out sometimes with the thought in my head going, we are looking for good stuff. We are not looking for projects today. We are not looking for projects today.
When Cernock and I are together, we say that to each other a lot.
Yeah. Now, listen, when you're vibing and you're at a spot, like sometimes I like to camp at certain spots. Then sometimes you get like, hey, you know what? I could take a gamble on that, you know, when it's cheap enough. But you got to be careful. You got to be careful, because taking those gambles just because it's cheap can lead you into a project zone that you're not going to want. So, yeah.
So, Tim, do you have any examples of projects that are worth your time? And obviously, we all have projects that aren't worth our time.
I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I've gotten so far away from projects. Like, I will tell you right now, one of the biggest projects that I think that I have, speaking of hats, I really thought Cernock and I were just going to open up a sweatshop and we were going to start replacing foam on hats for like a living. And that is something that I will not buy a hat anymore if it doesn't have foam in it. If the foam isn't intact, I will not buy that hat anymore. Unless it's like a 3-striper, you know, banger. Made in the USA banger. Outside of that, I'm not doing it anymore. Cernock, where are you at on that? Yeah, I mean, let's preface this by saying that Cernock is more advanced at repairing that part of a hat than I am or anybody else is, that for a matter of fact.
It's got to be it, like you said. Right now, for me, it's got to be like something like, whoa, like, you know, a 3-striper or something, you know, like something like crazy that, yes, I want to do. You know
now look, for an example, though, it's like what Eric was holding. There are some hats that will hold its form without foam.
Okay, let me give you a side.
You know what I'm talking about, though,
right? This, where you can stand this up without foam.
Correct. Yes.
Or this.
Yeah. See,
not picking it up anymore.
Pancake land. Like, you gotta, the foam in here is, you know.
Now, if I still have some that I might try and sell without restoring it to that extent. Yeah. But like, you have to like be upfront and tell people like, hey, you're gonna have to restore this yourself, because I'm not doing it anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just there's that's one of the big things right there. And I'll tell you this too. You want to show something, Cernock?
No, Gizmo's barking.
And I'll tell you something else too. Clothing. I used to buy clothing all the time and be like, oh, I can get that stain out. For what? For a $15, $20 shirt? Nope, not doing it anymore. I will sell a shirt now with stains. And just, I have sold 3 shirts. 3 of my last big shirt sales were stained. I sold a Pennsylvania Railroad t-shirt that had like wear down at the bottom hem. I put it in the listing, took a picture of it, put it in the description. I paid $2 for it. It sold for 15 or $20. Right? And out the door within like a week and a half. Like, I'm not mad at that because it sold quick and it was easy to ship and it was easy to store, right? I got the 1980s made in the USA Nike single stitch gray T-shirt, classic Nike with the swoosh in the middle. 1980s tag, banger. I didn't look at it like when I picked it up because I know like instantly like that was one to pick up, right? I'm like showing Josie and she's like, ew. And I'm like, what? She's like, look at they're like, it's like so pitted and it has like a big spot right here. Man, I took a picture of that bad boy as is, sold it for almost $50 within like 24 hours, gone out the door, right? So like sometimes it's like in those situations, don't feel like you gotta save a shirt all the time, right? There's certain things that you can do, like if you really want to, but I got tired of it. I got tired of all like if I was at a rag house and I found 100 vintage like banging T-shirts and they were all white and they needed like an oxy bath, I might do that, right? But we're not finding stuff like that on a regular basis to where it's worth it for me to spend the time to clean all these shirts, and then they might not even come clean all the way. Then it's just so I've just gotten to the point where it's like those sort of things that I used to be able to want to fix, I wanted to save. Like Cernox said in the beginning, though, there's some things that might be worth it, right? But learning over time what's worth it and what's not worth it is a huge difference. And it's like I'm not gonna buy a vintage travel T-shirt that I used to buy that has a stain and a hole in it that's going to sell for $15. I'm not going to buy that anymore because it's not going to sell and I'm not going to clean it. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, and when you're dealing with glass, it's not necessarily a project, right? Cleaning glass is very simple because you're just like washing a dish, right? Like with Pyrex, sometimes you might have to do a little bit of extra with the peak to get some of the utensil marks out. But like in the sense of like projects, it's like if it has a chip in it, I'm not buying it unless it's X amount of money. Like you can kind of apply that same sort of mentality and thought process to everything else that you're buying. Like I don't buy electronics a lot. And if I do, they're like high dollar electronics that I can sell without having to test. Like if I can't test it, I can just sell it as is, untested, for parts not working. 99% of the electronics that I sell are listed under parts not working. Because even if it is like everything, it powers on, right? There might be a function of it that might not be working. I'm not going to sit here and rewind and fast forward and record VHSs all day. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, it's like I don't have video game systems laying around to test video games. I don't. If I get a video game system, that it is selling. I'm selling it. I'm listing it. I'm selling it. I'm not keeping it to test video games. I don't find enough video games to do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like those sort of things. Like it just comes to the point where it's like it has to be a time and a dollar value on it. Mm-hmm. You have to put a value on your time, and because that's what it comes down to. It's like, do you want to spend 2 hours to make $20? What could you be doing in that 2 hours time to make you more than $20? A lot of things. So that's kind of where I'm at with everything.
Thank you. So for me, I think everybody, when you first start, you're picking up, because honestly, you hear things, you see things, so you're like, oh man, look at the comp on that. That's good. And then you pick it up and you realize it's not as good. Like condition needs some improvements. I was in that role for a while myself. And honestly, even with electronics, like I was ordering belts for turntables and all that kind of stuff, or like ordering a power cord or a remote for a VCR and things like that. So I think it is. So for me, just a quick go around, is there a dollar figure that you're like, hey, I know this is probably going to take me 30 or 40 minutes to get this thing right? Like, is there a specific dollar that you're saying, okay? And when I'm saying dollar, I'm saying either I'm getting this super cheap and the spread is this, or I'm getting a specific dollar that I'm like, okay, at this, I'm going to take that 30 or 40 minutes to do this. What would you say, sir?
I think it comes. So one thing that I like to work on and spruce up his boots. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many boots I've taken and just made like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Where I'll tell you, for instance, I found a rare, they call them bird shooter boots, and I found them, and they were dirty, they were caked up, they were faded, and if I would have just said, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna go for the fast sell, I could have sold them for $50. I bought them for $1. Could have sold them for $50 or 25 to $50 and been done. But I put the work into it. I cleaned them all up. I conditioned the leather. I even re-dyed the leather. And so now I have them listed for $350 because I know that they will sell at that price or around that price because of what I did with them. So yes, there are still things that I like to, and boots is probably the biggest one right now that boots and shoes, I'll take time to clean. Shoes wise, it's harder because I've slowed down on picking up, a pair of Vans or a pair of Converse or something like that, where it needs to be, for me to put the work into it, it needs to be a higher dollar amount. So now if there's Vans or Converse that are really nice, ready to go, yeah, I'll pick those up. But if I know, $25, $30, I'm not putting time and effort into cleaning a pair of Vans or Converse for $25, $30. I'm just not doing that. I'm not, even wiping down the with the magic eraser and all that stuff and maybe throwing, I'm not doing all that. Because again, that, it sounds easy. I would just take a magic eraser and then throw them in but then you gotta let them dry. You gotta make sure, you know what? I'll spend my money on better stuff that don't have it. Like I'll tell you this, a dirty pair of Converse or a brand new pair of Rockport or Bass leather shoes, I'll pick up the Bass or Rockports all day because I don't have to do anything to them. Or maybe I just put a little leather lotion on them and that's it, and then they're ready for pictures. So that's where I'm focusing on right now.
So are there things, like, because we are talking about projects and profits, like, are there things that you just are passionate about that you're like, okay, I know, like, Tim, I do think you specific with this because I know even in sourcing, like the whole sports card thing and keeping up with that stuff and knowing that, like, a lot of people like that outside of that realm may consider that a project. So are there things that are like more passion project and you're still making money at it, but it's stuff you enjoy, so it's okay to put more time in it? Is that kind of a mentality for you?
No, not anymore. Like everything I do, I'm passionate about, right? But like, I'm not gonna spend more time on something because it's fun and not making money. I don't have the luxury to do that, unfortunately. So like, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and try and sell you a pipe dream. Like, I love, it's fun, yes, and I love it. If I didn't love doing all of this with the glass and the cards and the clothes and everything, I wouldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? But like, I don't have the luxury to be like, I'm going to sit down today and I'm going to take my time and I'm going to research and I'm going to work and I'm going to enjoy it and I'm going to love it because I'm not making any money. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we didn't enjoy what we did, it would be work. So it's like, I enjoy what I do, but at the same time, like, I have to make money. So like you just have to be smart about it. It's easy when you're part-time. It's so much easier. But when you're full-time and like everything relies on this, like, I'm working so hard. I'm trying to get better at what I do. I don't really have time to like lie in here to you all and say like, I'm going to take on a passion project. because there's no time for a passion project.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like everything that I do is a passion project basically at this point. So I'm passionate about what I do as a whole. It's just no, if you start to do that, then you neglect so many different other parts of your business, and then it starts to build up, and then you got a backlog of things that you haven't done, and then now your dev pile is getting bigger. You're not listing. You're not making videos. You know, you're buying, but you're not selling. Now, like it becomes like this whole. It can happen like that too. So, like, you really have to be on top of things.
All right. So, leading into our next thing, we talk about, and Tim kind of alluded to a degree, is researching, right? It's one of many rabbit holes that we all can fall prey to, right? Because once you start down a trail of doing some research, you're like, pretty soon you're deep in the hole. Do you guys, and I know similar, do you ever find yourself where you dive into, like, I want to find out what this is and more about it, and then you look up at the time and you're like, oh, I've been spending some time on this for a minute. Like, Tim, what would you say along those lines? Like, if you think about rabbit holes, there are a lot of different ways of researching these things.
I have been down the Milky Way of rabbit holes, like on so many different things.
Yeah,
it's probably the toughest thing for me when it comes to time suck of everything, because like I know how easy it is to mess up and sell for something for cheaper than what you should. Now I think with live selling, it's become a little bit more easier to suck it up and just, make the money, right? And that comes with everything. I think that relates to everything we're talking about today. A lot of times now with live selling, it's easier to kind of sell projects off to other people who have the time to do projects, and that's what they do, But like with research, like, I don't know, like I used to have an entire like table or a shelf and boxes of research items. Like I feel like this item is worth money, but I can't figure it out. I just put it away. I can't do that anymore. It's part of my new like outlook on things. It's just not worth it. Like once again, like I've put so much more value on my time now than I used to. And I think that, also getting better at researching has allowed me to like not really go down too much of a rabbit hole. I think that if it's something that's small and you paid a little bit amount of money, I know I say this about everything, but if it's easy to store, easy to ship, and it's cheap, then you can kind of have yourself a little bit of a project shelf. But don't you got to set boundaries. Don't get to the point where next thing you know, you got a whole room of research items. You know what I'm saying? But like, also like, take the time to do your research right. Reach out to people. Some people are weird about that. They don't want to reach out to people. And I mean, people reach out to me all the damn time. So, reach out to people and ask for some help. Google Lens, like keywords. It's just, there's a lot of time, but like, you got to set boundaries. I think that's the best advice I can give. It's just set boundaries. Don't do too much. Don't take on too much. Hopefully, that will allow you the right balance of time and energy spent on an item.
There you go. I mean, a couple.
Before I forget, one thing that Eric has done that told me that is really important about this is when you're buying the item, save what you've already found out that made you buy the item. So you don't have to spend time going back and finding, because I tell you, it happens to me a lot of time with comps. I comp something and then I get home and I can't find the damn comp that I saw when I was buying the item.
Yeah. Just go down and hit save, sell similar.
Yeah.
Like, put a draft in. Um, so basically, what Tim's saying is you can waste other people's time by reaching out to them, but not your own. No, I will tell you this, just because of being on both sides of this. Do research by your, like if it's a Google, like I do have people occasionally reach out, and I was like, bro, I took the same Google picture you did. It popped right up. Like that's what it is. But so like do that first before you reach out to somebody, just as a courtesy. We're all trying to make a living out here. Like, I mean, that's just how it is. But also like just a little tip with research is dude, join some Facebook groups, man. If you're in a new category, you don't know anything about it, go in there. Hey, ask a question or two. You may get butchered a little bit. You know, I can't believe you don't know what that is, but there's plenty of folks. Honestly, this sounds weird to a lot of people. I've listed stuff and put a question mark. This question mark?
I can't do that.
You know what happens? You get a message. Oh, this is the blah, 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 blah. Perfect. Like, I've done it, guys. Like, it's not you know, it's one of those things because I'm not trying to be the expert widget guy that I don't know what this is, but like, hey, this is what it is. And there is an expert widget guy out there, and he probably knows what it is. So you can do that. Worst comes to worst, but you know, do a little research for sure, but don't lose your mind in it. Cernat, what about the rabbit holes for you? Is there anything outside of research that you're can be a rabbit hole?
Man, I'll tell you this. You know, outside of research, but I will tell you this. It is hard not to buy some items that you see because of FOMO. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I see stuff because I think a lot of it. Tim doesn't experience this a lot, but Eric and I do. Where things are so cheap, it's like there might be something in that box worth everything else. I could throw everything else away and just sell that one piece. And that's where I feel like Eric and I sometimes buy a lot more than we should because of those, like, ooh, there's something I know there's something valuable. I can't pull it out and just say, this is the piece, but looking at this and looking at everything around it, like that's like a perfect example. We had a bunch of like these wall clocks, like these wrought iron wall clocks from Germany come in. Something told me, grab it. I bought a whole box of these for $2. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think that's where, you know, sometimes I find it hard within myself to go, no, don't buy that. Because
just because it's cheap doesn't mean you have to buy it.
But when you start looking up some of the comps on some of it, you're like, dang, all right, let me just get this. Because and I feel like it's necessarily wrong because I have the space to store stuff. So it's like, hey, put that away. I'll get to that. And it's because I'm always thinking of different avenues that I have to sell things, you know. Whereas it's like, hey, I just bought that for $2. Maybe I find 2 or 3 pieces of those clocks that are worth putting on eBay. And guess what? I'll just take the rest to the auction.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's stuff like that, kind of expanding your areas to say, hey, I know this could be, you know, take my time. This could be, but you know what? If it does end up just being I have outlets to get rid of that stuff.
And that's kind of what I was talking about too with the live selling. Like with the evolution of how we resell, like there are people out there that are like eBay. They won't even cross list. Right. Yeah. But like, think about all the different ways that we, you know, outlets that we have. And I think the auction thing that Cernak and I did, I think that's something that has definitely got me a little bit more excited about, you know, being able to get out of the hole that I have created of crap that I bought that I shouldn't have bought. And it's not necessarily that it's not valuable. It's just that it doesn't fall into the parameters of how I want to do reselling now.
Mm-hmm.
But back then I was like, oh yeah, this will sell $15. It only cost me $2. And there it is 3 years later. Nobody's bought it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, sometimes you just, there's certain things that you got to get over. And I think that we're gotten to the point in reselling where you have to, we talk about adjusting and adapting all the time. You're going to have to start. eBay and only eBay works for certain people, but it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain people out there that can just do eBay, and that's fine. I'm not knocking them, but we're not those people. And you might not be that people either, but you won't know unless you try.
Great time for a little ad for One Stop Shop, RIN.net. If you want to experience live selling for yourself, hey, we're avidly looking for folks that want to go live and sell on the One Stop Shop. So check it out, One Stop Shop, RIN.net. I do have one other rabbit hole before we move on to the last thing that I kind of want to make mention of. How about sourcing, guys? How about going out and buying, or not even buying sometimes, but just like, I've got to go out. I've got a truckload at the house that needs listing, but I want to take my time and go out here and source. And I know you want to talk about a reselling rabbit hole for virtually every reseller I know is we almost need to print t-shirts that say I'd rather be sourcing. Like that's kind of the thing. But I know, you know, whether you're a thrifter and like, hey, I've got to hit all these thrift stores every day to make sure things are on track, or whether you are someone who, like, oftentimes for us, dude, like Cernock used the word FOMO, like the fear of missing out. Man, if there's yard sales, I don't care how much stuff I got. Like, I still have this magnet that like draws me to the sales. Like, I've got to go because there may be something there, right? There may be something
right now there. Hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, right. You getting the itch? I know we talk about this oftentimes, and me and Cernock, we've had this conversation on the phone numerous times. I don't really need to, but you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's and here's the thing. This is the trap I fall into, where you have a day of listing and you're just, all right, you feel like you put in a good day's, like a good maybe morning's work, you know what I'm saying? But then you go, I gotta get out of the house, and it's so easy to drive. I'll just drive down to my honey hole, or oh, you know what? It's 1 o'clock. I've been working since 8 a.m. this morning. It's 1 o'clock. Let's get packages packed up. All right. So now it's 1:45, 2 o'clock. What do? Get back on the computer and keep listing? Or you know what? Let me go drop off the packages. Okay. Drop off the packages. Packages are done. And sometimes when I drop off packages, it almost feels like that's the end of my day. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, I've done it. I've done it. I've completed the task. And so for me, it's so easy just to go, oh, all right, it's 2 o'clock. I've dropped off packages. I did listings in the morning. Man, we're on fire today. All right, let's go to the honey hole for two hours. All right, and then maybe we'll go to Goodwill after that. And then maybe I'll go by Gabe's, and maybe I'll go by Ross, and maybe I'll go and it quickly cycles that way to where I'd rather be sourcing. I would rather be sourcing. That's why when
hey, that's a RIN copyright. Just so you guys know, I'd rather be sourcing. We coined that phrase. Just make your check payable.
It's like this. Because I have wholesalers that come and get stuff. So it's like, man, like if I have the wholesalers come, I'll let stuff go, like boom, boom, because I bought it so cheap. but I'm still making money on that. So in my mind, it's like, well, man, it's 2 o'clock. Why not go by these spots just to pick up some more stuff? Because you never know when you're getting a phone call. Hey, let me come shop. All right, cool. You know, here's some new stuff. Boom. So yeah.
Tim, do you have the rabbit hole of sourcing?
No, I mean, my rabbit hole is I don't know. I don't source as much as I used to, you know.
Yeah.
Because I'm so busy trying to sell. I think my biggest thing is you know, I'm really, when I get back from this trip, I'm gonna be like, I'm contemplating doing a live sale every day of the month of June, and also, you know, I've been putting together these boxes to bring to Cernoc for the auction, and kind of just restarting everything and not having a death pile. I've gotten really good at like everything I got from the 100-mile yard sale is already all listed, and a lot of it's already all sold. And like I went to the flea market on Saturday and yard sales, and everything that I bought is already listed. The one thing I don't have listed from the 100-mile yard sale yet is a project. It's a G-Shock watch. I bought a project. But no, I'm pretty good about that. And also just because I have the dog here, it's not like I can go and leave for like a day. And because like for me, that's what it takes. Like I can't. Do you know how many times I go to a thrift store and I walk out with nothing? More than times than I walk out with anything. Like, and you know, I need to come. I have to go. I'm probably going to start going to Cernox once a week and sourcing up there, because I can't. It's not a lot of sourcing down here. It takes so much time. Like I have to dedicate a day just to go sourcing, because all the thrift stores are spread out all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I am a big proponent of the flea market and of yard crawls, because I can bang it out in one go. You know what I'm saying? And I get a high-end inventory that I list, and I get quality inventory that I sell live. And then it's gone. Like, those are the two things. There's no more in between. There's no more low end for me. I'm done with it. Done with it. Wiping my hands. It's a time suck. It's not making me any money. And it's just, I'm spending money to make nothing back, basically. And I say that in a very loose way, because to some people it might be different. You know what I'm saying? But like, I look at my eBay store and I'm like, this is listed for $15. Look how big this thing is. It's going to cost me $12 to ship it. It's never going to sell. Why is it here? Like that, you know, like a card, I could sell a card for $5, but I could store 5,000 of them in one box. You know what I'm saying? And it takes me 5 minutes to ship it. That's okay. But if like, you know, like I got 6 totes of project hats in this room next door. 6. When am I gonna have the time to do that?
30 dozen.
So it's just, that's the whole thing. But I do want to interrupt this program briefly, okay? I do want to interrupt this program briefly, because this just came across the wire, okay? This just came across the wire. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an exclusive RIN breaking news story. I just received a message from the platform Mercari. They are reinstating the prior return policy. Our original return policy is coming back effective May 22nd, 2024 at 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So the policy is coming back where basically they must initiate a return request through the order status page or the rating page within 72 hours of the carrier confirmed local delivery time. When a buyer has rated the transaction or when more than 72 hours have passed, returns are not permitted.
Mm.
If a return request is made within 72 hours from delivery, the item may be returned for the following reasons. Item as described. Item doesn't work. Item damaged during shipping. I didn't receive everything I ordered. I received the wrong item, or authenticity concerns. So all that other stuff, like, I changed my mind. I found a better price. My kid accidentally ordered it. All of that stuff, gone. So, I mean, people were freaking out. Remember when we told everybody chill out? They were freaking out. Oh my God, Mercari, everybody's just gonna be returning things. We got you. We told y'all, chill, relax. It's gonna be all good. So now Mercari, they got the best return policy and no fees, baby. So, but people are upset because of those things. I don't know why, but they're gonna be upset about anything that changes, apparently. But yeah, that's your breaking news.
Because they're people. Hey, last rabbit hole I'll actually talk about is one that extends beyond reselling and into life. Is probably right social media scrolling. Like, as long as you're on RAN or over the years or Cernox Connection or Obxpicker, like, that's fine. You can scroll all day if you like, but if you're elsewhere, you're probably just wasting time. No, I'm just kidding. We have lots of great friends that are other YouTubers and social media guys, but just be careful. I mean, make sure you're working. We call it listing and loafing for a reason. Yeah, try to do more listing. But all right, last topic, and then we do want to give a special shout out to our channel members. We'll do that before we dive into this last topic.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I got to get back to my old setup so it sounds better, because it sounds like crap when I do this. That's why I stopped yelling and I started going slow motion. Like, we want to thank our channel members: AZ Katsu, Simply Shenanigans Shanna, Diane Matthews, our very own Blood, Sweat, and Cell, Trash Cat Rescue, New England Betty Boop, Joe Niels, Old School Picker, Vintage Spoof Flips, Charities, Terrific Finds, Kathleen the Fernway Flipper, Ohio Pickers, Annette and Frank, Rudely Retro, Absolute Finds, Dennis Hardy, Heather Bedler, James Steinbreaker, Old Pass, High Plains Flipper, Walter Tilton, Black Sheep Society, Death Pile Picker, Mark Rowlands, Tracer J's Trading, Aaron Vaughn, Central Iowa Picker, Wiggle Room 9, Mountain Barn, Pinjo Picker, and Trash to Cash Podcast. Mustache hairs in my nose.
Thank you so much for all our channel members. We do appreciate you and your support. So the last thing we're going to talk about, the things that can be a distraction when you're trying to be more profitable in your reselling journey, is plan or no plan. Do you have a process, or are you just flying by the seat of your pants? I know for a lot of us, we have tried both methods. Obviously, one is usually a little bit more effective than others, but I know for me, when I have more of a schedule, I actually am a little bit more disciplined about getting stuff done. I don't know about you guys. Like, what's y'all's thoughts? Have a plan, a process, or are you just wing it?
I'm currently trying to plan my process of planning. That's the stage I'm at right now.
Couple more keys.
Yeah. So I was actually recently on the Reseller Leftovers podcast. If you guys aren't subscribed to them, make sure you guys do that. Besides Trash to Cash, that's pretty much the only podcast I listen to is the Reseller Leftovers. But they Dan's like, I don't understand how you do it, Tim. Like, you're 8 platforms and 4 YouTube channels and 6 Instagrams, and I'm like, I'm not even really doing it the way that I should be doing it. And the two things that I think are holding me back and have held me back from being an extremely successful reseller and content creator are organization and time management. It's so easy to tell you all who are watching us how to do those two things, right? Especially if you're new, because we're like basically telling you like I am doing these things still and I shouldn't be, but here I am still doing them. Don't do what we do. Most content creators and resellers will tell you what to do. We're trying to tell you what not to do because we're doing them and we shouldn't be doing them. So like that's pretty much what it is. And I think that I'm really trying to get better at it. And it's so difficult when you've done things so a certain way for so many years and you have your day-to-day life and everything. Like it's you can't just put everything on hold and go and spend a week to fix everything, right? So I think right now I'm really like just going through the steps of trying to get to the point where there is a complete process. Like I envy those of you who have it. And I mean like the people like what's my guy's the guy who's on with us, the shoe guy and his wife. Why am I blanking on his name right now? Renzi. Like I wish, like, dude, like I mean, they have like a literal map of like that McDonald's movie with Michael Keaton where he's like, if you want to make the most food and the most money the fastest, like this is how it has to be, like the order of operations, right? Like that's what I want to get to. I want to get to the point where it's like I come home, I process, I photograph, I list, I go, I post an Instagram, I post a reel, I make a YouTube video, I ship, like just that sort of like that rotation of process, right? Like I want to be able to get to that point, but in order to get to that point, you have to take the steps in order to allow yourself to get to that point. And a lot of that is going to be cutting dead weight. I think that that's the most important thing here in the process of time management is cutting dead weight. You got to cut dead weight. So
not
plan. See, the thing with me is my plans get altered so much.
Yep.
That, but by myself and by others, that sometimes, like a lot of times, I have a plan up here, and then something else takes over, and I just
that's the story of my life, my friend.
I don't. It's hard to explain, like.
Now, I know Cernak does have plans within plans. So, like, there are processes he has in place. I do know that.
My thing is, a lot of it is just moving forward, where it becomes like, it always becomes like, hey, we know how to do this. We've done this. We know what it takes. Just do it, you know? And that's where I fall into. Now, I'm a little bit different because I don't do the social media. I don't, like people are like, oh, you need to post more on Instagram. Yeah, I do when I remember. But, so like that, like I'm not making videos, like doing stuff like that. So it does give me a little more time to do other stuff. And a lot of it is, I have such an easy route now that I usually don't travel out of town anymore to go shopping, where it, back in the day, it'd be like, all right, well, let me go here. Let me go there. Let me go here. Where it's made it where I'm lazy now. I'm lazy now because of that. So, I wake up in the morning going, all right, what's going to move me forward? What's going to, is it shopping? Is it listing? Is it this? Is it that? I think at the end of the day, as long as my packages are packed up, dropped off to the post office, have some listings done, do a little shopping, that's a good day for me.
So you heard it. Like for me, I've had over the past couple years such a different lifestyle things going on, like within my family and health conditions and all that. It is hard to stick to a process of being able to, like, okay, I think adapting small wins, like you said, having a process or a plan within the plan. Like Tim said, when you bring stuff home, list it, process it. Like if you do have minor projects that you're going to tackle, maybe it's better to, instead of like, I'm going to clean one shoe. And this is something honestly I picked up from Cernock. Cernock will have like boot camp day that he's got like 15, 20 boots. Hey, my plan is to put one coat of leather lotion of all these guys, circle back with the dye, circle back with the, hey, I need shoelaces for all these. I'm going to go ahead and, so having it all together where it's like, okay, I'm going to spend this day and I'm going to knock out these shoes or these boots. It's one of the things that I'm trying to pick up in my own journey is when I buy stuff, because like what Tim was saying about having a lot of different platforms, is like, let's process that stuff right out of the gate in the sense of, okay, this is going to go in this box that is going to be for live selling. Like, I know that's what I'm using this. That's why I bought this. I'm going to put this over there for that. So I can schedule that in my next show. This box is items I need to list on eBay. Out of that, I've got a couple items that are projects that they're going to require a little cleaning, maybe a little testing, a little whatever needs to be done to them. So maybe that goes, but then take that box after sorting and saying, okay, I'm either going to take pictures of these items that I want to put in this live sale up next, or I'm going to take this items of eBay and whatever other selling platform I'm putting them on, or maybe using all the selling platforms when you're using cross listing, and looking at those and saying, I need to go ahead and get these up, rather than I can tell you what has been the trend for a while is I buy it, and as soon as I hit the house, it never leaves the car until maybe the next day or two. Like I might go out there and pull it out. Like I've done that because just time and, either that or you have a long day of it. For me, traveling is always one of those things. But also, I can tell you on the other side of that, there's items now that I'm listing before I even hardly get them home. Because if you do some RA and you have new items, you don't necessarily have to stop and take pictures of all those items. Like there's ways to have pictures of those items. And eBay does allow, regardless what people say, they do allow stock photos. Like they do allow that. But for us, there is other things like Tim said, I've made mention of and use of a lot of I'm going to create a draft. So then occasionally what I'll do is I'll take those items that I've already created a draft for and say, all they need is pictures, man. All they need is a little wipe down and pictures. And then now they're up and they're gone. I know one of the benefits of buying RA is you do tend to spend more money. And so you're more apt to get that up faster.
That's correct. Because sometimes with RA, when you're first to market, I mean, a lot of the RA. Oh man, someone's calling. I thought I turned this off. All right. So with RA, a lot of like kind of RA like Eric and I do at certain stores, it's your first to market or last to market. Okay. And if you're first to market, you might sell it. Last to market, that means you're waiting for everyone, for all the low ballers to sell theirs, and then you get the price for yours. Okay. Yeah. So that's where Eric's saying, like, hey, sometimes before you even have the store, bro, you're already listed that item because it's easy. So yeah. Definitely that has weight. That's how like I am. If I go spend a bunch of money on RA, that takes priority over everything. Listing that once I get home takes priority over everything. I can have a cool boots to put more leather. No, I'm listing these items. I'm finding the pictures, listing those items as quickly as I can because I do have money. And that's the problem with, like Eric saying, leaving in the car. Yeah, when you buy cheap, it's easy just to be like, all right, I'm going to leave that, like I'll leave that in the box, and we'll get to that later. That's a lot what happens to me, where it's like the fun new stuff kind of takes priority, and the old stuff is like, hey, we're still worth money. Think about us one day, So that's where you got to kind of look around and go, all right, what's valuable? All right, let me sell this. Or with me, a lot of times, like you said, I go into processes where if I have a bunch of shoes that I've put new laces in, shoe trees, and I have them ready for pictures, well, all right, let's run through that process now. All right, now I've got things to list. So there's always stuff to list. It's just delegating what I want to list for that day.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing too, like when you talk processes, is like having a little plan. I mean, not saying you've got to be like military at 600. We're gonna get up and like not like that.
I'm trying to be like that.
Yeah, but like in the very same thing, like how many? I know for me this is true. Like I'm sitting with a room full of stuff, and I look around like, oh, what do I want to list? I think I'll list this, or then I'll look through, and then before you know it, you're looking through a bin like, oh, I forgot I even had that. Let's look at this, and what is this? And pretty soon, 15, 20, 30 minutes have gone by. You're still looking for that first item that you want to list instead of just listing it. Just like you guys said, just doing what you need to do. So I think it is one of those things. If we just be a little smarter in our processes, I think saving time, as we've said earlier, like we wouldn't spend time to take on a project, but yet sometimes we'd spend time in other ways where we're not because it is true, like time is money. So if you're working for yourself, you have to save time wherever you can to make that money. But then, the other side of all this stuff, though, is still all of us got in this thing, I'm sure, at the end of the day, because we don't want to work for somebody else. We want to make our own schedule. We want to be our own boss. That is as a scale, right? We have to balance like the idea of freedom versus now I've got to, it's on me. Like, ain't nobody else coming here to do it. It's not on the selling platforms. It's not everybody else's fault. Ends of the day, it all falls to you because you're the boss and you're the worker and you're the one that's got to get it done. So we just wanted to do this show today to encourage you in some ways, to don't waste time, and also to encourage ourselves and each other, like to think along the same lines of just do a little bit better. I mean, we can all improve in all these areas. So just being there to help support others to take that same journey. So we do thank you guys for being here. Don't forget to check us out on Tuesdays, live listing and loafing. Hopefully more listing than loafing. But today we're doing a little bit of both. So we do thank you guys for being here. Sir,
hey, listen, we've got, hopefully you've gotten some information from us today. Listen, I'm not perfect. We're not perfect. Okay.
No.
Listen, but we try to tell you where we fall sometimes and where, hey, don't get stuck in here. So hopefully you've taken some of this information today and it kind of helps you kind of look at, hey, should I be buying this? Should I not? How much time is that going to be? You yourself is, we're all in different situations. So take our information, but do what with it what you want. If there's something you're like, hey, if you're a part-timer, you're like, man, that would be a great thing to work on in the evenings. Go ahead. You know what I'm saying? If you have a project that you want to work on in the evenings, go ahead. But like I said, everyone's different. So take that time and take our information and do what fits with you. So hope y'all, hopefully you've got some good experiences from, all of us, and hopefully that can just, lead you into your reselling journey even smoother.
there you go. All right, Tim, take us out.
Well, thank you guys as always for all the love and all the support. Most importantly, we want to thank you all for all your kind words and messages that you guys left Leroy on last week's episode. I'm sure he is reading those and important that we continue to keep Leroy lifting him up higher and higher as he goes through what he's going through. But we miss you, Leroy, even though you're right there. You'll always be here. Love you, buddy. But yeah, most importantly is, listen, right? Sherlock said it best. We are not perfect. We are far from perfect. I think I hope that translates to you as a viewer, that you guys feel more relatable to what we're talking about, because we're going through the same things you are, and we're trying to get better, and hopefully we can all get better together. Like Eric said, please head over to One Stop Shop. We're going to be working on that when I get back from California. We're going to have big plans for the month of June, hopefully lined up for everybody. But yeah, tell a friend about RIN Reseller Information